Why is my voice echoing? Yo, what was that? Oh my God. Man, I'm tripping. I'm tripping. Oh boy. Have I got a trip report for you all? Oh man, okay. Yes, I had DMT visuals on cannabis, on some weed. Full-blown DMT visuals on weed. How did this happen? I'm gonna tell you all about it. Let's get right into it, okay? So my relationship with cannabis has been an interesting one, for lack of a better term. It used to strike me with crippling paranoia and anxiety and like deep social awkwardness. And then eventually it got to a point where cannabis would make me straight up pass out. I think I've collapsed 4 times off of cannabis. One of those times sent me to the hospital. I guess I'll save that trip report for another time. Things have got a lot better recently though. I can hold my own. I've been a lightweight, big time lightweight with cannabis. Love edibles, but smoking it, it's not so great, not so great. Now, after I built up a little bit of a tolerance and began to get more comfortable with cannabis, interesting things started to happen. I started to have DMT visuals, light fractal patterns behind my closed eyes. I was having closed eye visuals on just cannabis alone. But this trip that happened, 3 or 4 days ago, blew the lid off of all that completely. And it left me wondering what the hell just happened for days. You see, typically I have a firm grounding on my trips. I understand what's happening for the most part. I'm grounded, and typically I can elaborate and retell it in a way that makes sense, because it made sense to me at the time. Yo, this cannabis trip didn't make no sense, all right? So let's talk about it a little bit. How did I get DMT visuals and beyond through cannabis? How did I have what I perceive now as an interdimensional experience on cannabis? Now, to explain this, I'm gonna have to delve into psychedelics and their relationship to your states of consciousness. From my understanding and experience, these different psychedelics, these different substances, take you to the same place in just different degrees. Okay, and to explain this, I'm going to use an example of a train. Okay, so follow me on this example, if you will, and let's see if we can work through this. Firstly, imagine consciousness not as a state of being, but a location. For the sake of this example, imagine consciousness as a physical place. Now, you're on a train. Okay, there's a big old long train and it has seats, and there's a bunch of people in this train. This train represents your 3D reality, our collective reality that we all experience together, our physical reality, okay? The reality that we can see and feel and taste and touch, the reality that we can perceive with our 5 senses. Now, this train is a fully isolated, self-sustaining system. There's no windows and no doors. All you see in this train is what you get. Now, imagine that doing something like cannabis is the equivalent to just cracking a window, right? A crack of a window on this train. You can peep outside and see things whooshing by. You have no idea what they are. It's just, at that point, it just looks like little, like the crack is this big, so it looks like little colors going like this. You're like, whoa, what's that? That's weird. Imagine if the standing temperature in the train is always 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you crack this window, sometimes you feel something a little cooler. Sometimes you feel something ice cold. And sometimes you feel something burning hot. Now, these new experiences, this new degree of experience that you're having on this train has an effect on you in that moment, and also when you come back to the train and that window's completely closed, because you're left with the knowledge of, wait a second, I experienced something different there. I experienced something hot. I experienced something cold. What are these things? I thought air was supposed to be the same temperature the whole time. I saw colors out there that I hadn't seen before, just whooshing by. What was that? What was that? And now all of a sudden you have a different frame of reference when you're judging interactions or experiencing different things in this train. Somebody complains, oh my God, this temperature, I don't understand. I think I'm a little cold. But you have the knowledge because you cracked the window that, oh buddy, it could be much colder. Let's move on to things like LSD and shrooms. Imagine that things like LSD and shrooms are like not just a crack in the window, but opening the whole window. Opening the whole window with a slight little filter on there. You can see a bigger picture of what's passing by. Shapes are starting to make sense. You're starting to see things like trees and or things that look that they could be trees, things that these large piles of earth, and you don't even know what earth is. Mind you, you're on a train, and you're sitting there at the window in awe, like, what is that? What is that? And you come back and you try to tell somebody on the train, bro, I took this thing, this substance, and I saw these weird shapes and these things sprouting up from the ground, and there was these things flying through the air, and there was this weird shiny liquid that was everywhere in this place, and even sometimes it would fall from the sky, and those people would look at you like, what? Now let's take it to DMT. Taking DMT on this train is like blowing all the walls off, the ceilings off, the doors, the window, there's nothing. It's like it's like pushing the eject seat. Taking DMT on this train is like if somebody pushed the eject button and shot you out of the train. Ejecto-cito. Okay? You're thrown into this new world. You're thrown into this place. Everything is different. Even the concept of motion. Time is gone. You're still. You're suspended in this place. Your feet are in the grass, and you can see these trees, and you behold these mountains, and you can get a feeling for water. And you're like, oh my God, there is another world beyond this train. And the degree to which you experience this world depends solely on, one, which substance you took, or two, and we'll save this for another example, how much spiritual development that you've done, okay? Now, let's bring it back to the whole point. Why did I paint this entire picture? Because yes, taking different substances allows you to experience consciousness, because everything is consciousness, allows you to experience consciousness to differing degrees of clarity. Different degrees of clarity, and from my experience, almost like in different languages. It's very hard to explain this. My trip the other night was like cracking the window, but then bits and pieces of the train are starting to fall off at the same time. Let's go right into this trip, okay? I was smoking a King Roll. It was a King Roll sativa. They should really pay me to do stuff like this. I was smoking a King Roll sativa. I'm a lightweight. I only took like 3 or 4 hits of the damn thing. And I come inside and, you know, I think I was about to start up a movie or start up a match of League of Legends. I don't remember what I was about to do, but it was chill kickback hours, and so I was about to chill and kick back. After a short time, I closed my eyes, and there it was, sure as day. The closed eye visuals, these interesting, intricate shapes pulsing and radiating out from one another. Exactly like what I would see on a DMT trip, yet fuzzy, blurry, not too solid. Not too solid. It was as if like the opacity was at like 50%. Okay? Now, a lot of times on cannabis, I will see Metatron's cube. Okay? I will see this shape right here, and I'll see it fractaling outwards. This was only the beginning. When you come back from DMT, there is a reintegration process, almost as if you're getting back on the train, and it's like, okay, this thing moves this fast, the temperature is like this, I remember my seat's over there, okay, let me go sit down. There's a reintegration period. There is a slight moment where your body feels foreign because you just came back to it. Okay? The train feels foreign because you just got back on. A sort of foreign yet familiar feeling. Oftentimes when I come back from a DMT trip, I'll look at my hands and be like, whoa, I have a body. I drive this thing. That period lasts for a few minutes and then goes away. I was suspended in this period the entire cannabis trip, beholding my body like a completely dissociative experience, knowing that I drive it but feeling separate from it at the same time. Unbelievable. But wait, folks, there's more. I began to hear strange, otherworldly sounds. As a human, you can intuitively feel when things are not of this world, okay? In terms of how they look, in terms of how they move, in terms of how they sound, okay? And if you've ever had any sort of experiences that are, I don't know, hyperdimensional, if you will, you know what I'm talking about. I would hear these weird What? Okay, one second here, folks. Let me tell you, oftentimes on cannabis, me personally, just as you can get like streaming visuals, trails of visual things on LSD, for me that happens auditorily. That for me there's sort of auditory traces, if you will, like a I think the word for that is echo. But it's a little bit more, it's a little bit different than an echo, but it's auditory trails, okay? I typically get those, but this was just like auditory blasts out of nowhere, coming from different angles, and it was completely louder than anything going on in my vicinity. That was one of the dead giveaways. It was like if somebody just went, and you're like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was it? It got to a point where I had to say, like, Kevin, all right, you're high as hell right now. And these sounds aren't real. These sounds aren't coming from on the train, right? So that brought comfort. Then all of a sudden I started to hear music. It wasn't a song that I had ever heard before, okay? And maybe in another trip or another report, I'll tell you about how songs have come to me in full form in the state of sleep, or random melodies will land in my head, okay? And I can hear them as clear as day, and if I record them right there, they stay forever. Anyway, I was hearing this live, and it wasn't in my head. I could hear it just outside of my door. I was hearing this music just outside of my door, and the music sounded like old 50s and 60s, like mostly 50s, like jolly music, that when you slow it down, certain horror movies have done this, you slow down like this jolly old-timey 50s music, and it sounds creepy as fuck. The song was playing just outside of my door. Just outside of my door. So naturally, there was some doubt there. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to say, okay, am I really hearing this stuff? Or is it just coming from upstairs? There's like some outdoor sort of music playing. Then a weird thing happened. I got up. I approached the music. And when I left my room, the music was gone. It was almost as if that music only existed within that sort of sphere. And this is where things started to get really weird. This is where I started to contemplate with my high self. Is anything interdimensional happening right now? Am I hearing somebody else's music? Is somebody playing music here in this same place at a different time? On a different wavelength? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm willing to take any answer at this point. Let me know what you think it could have been in the comments. I go back to my room and that music is still playing. Then eventually it fades away. So here I am with my hand over my head like this, trying to contemplate, yo, this is wild. Weed never used to do this to me. It's doing it now. What's going on? This is intense. And as I'm thinking that, my hand's right here, okay? There is a projection, just like on DMT, how there is a three-dimensional projection, almost a holographic representation of every physical surface, okay? I was experiencing a three-dimensional representation of my hand as it rested on my head. But here's the crazy thing, right? And so I start to wiggle my thumb just to see, you know, the projection of my thumb do the same thing. But the crazy part was it didn't. I moved my thumb and the projection of my thumb did not move. The trippy part was this. I moved it like this. Beep, 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 right? About 3 or 4 seconds later, then my thumb moves in the projection, but it doesn't move exactly like my thumb originally moved. So when I went like this, when I wiggled it like this, the projection of it 3 seconds later did this. Beep, 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 beep. It was different. At that moment, I was convinced I was experiencing something extra dimensional, if you will. I don't care how it sounds, it happened. I experienced it and it was the most wild thing ever. And the fact that it happened on cannabis blew my mind. Now, I don't know if my DMT experiences, being that they preceded all of my other psychedelic experiences, was at play, or if it was just some crazy ass, dank ass weed. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm interested to find out. Okay? And that was a trip. Well, in other news, my San Pedro army, let me know where you're at in the comments. Say San Pedro, and I got you right back. The San Pedro army is growing at a ridiculous rate. I can't see where we go and what we make of this. I got some great news for you all. I'm going to be coming out with a video about DMT and its effects on me as a person, how it was a catalyst for my personal and spiritual development. Okay, that's going to be a really interesting video. We're going to have videos about breaking through, what it means to break through and what a breakthrough actually is. Okay, and psychedelics and their whole balance of this thing that we call consciousness. Did you guys hear that? Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry. The cactus just told me that I'm coming out with a book. A book's already been written. I already wrote the book about DMT. A Psychonaut's Guide to DMT. It's going to tell people about the molecule itself and how it's used in indigenous cultures. It's also going to tell people about the risks and dangers of DMT. It's going to tell people how to extract it for themselves. Yo, that's illegal. My mom would kill me. It's already been written. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue with the San Pedro. Apparently, I've already written a book about DMT called A Psychonaut's Guide to DMT that's going to tell you about DMT, the molecule itself, its cultural uses, its risks and side effects, and also how to extract it, along with frequently asked questions from my audience. How much is this book going to cost? $17.77. That's not bad. You say there's more books. A manifestation book. A guide to meditation book? Oh, you wild. You wild. Yo, you gotta go, San Pedro.
How dare you drop me on the ground like that, boy? Don't you know I'm sensitive? I'm sensitive and I am sacred. I am San Pedro and you will respect me, boy.
Okay, guys, I gotta get out of here. This cactus is about to whip my ass. I'll see you all on the other side. Bye.